So the reason that I think it's important for us to start moving towards the UIF as a or really as the visuals for how we demo, and these are kind of the main reasons that I can come up with. So I'd look for others to come up with the reasons. Are that it's just more pleasing to the eye. The UI is cleaner. It gives more real estate. You know, it just visually displays better than the classic UI. So classic UI, you know, a lot of breaks, you know, things like that. Some people aren't aware of where the menu is, and now the UIF is this standard navigation, quick sidebar navigation. You can still hit the menu, go that way. But that's definitely one reason that I think it starts to gain an advantage. Is just aesthetically works better. The second reason is that by using the apps, really you can start to define and identify specific roles or team-based functions. And I think this will start to play out the more we identify upfront with users. But the fact is, if you can go in and define a role and their process and how they function, you can then narrow down what that group needs to work with, right? One of my major complaints when I came onto the CRM platform and was comparing it to Salesforce was it was too busy. I mean, Microsoft just throws everything at the end user, and it's complex, and you don't know which button does what, and there's 3 buttons that do the same thing. And so it's really busy, and I think that the UIF does a great job of forcing the administrators and then the users down, administrators needing to think about it, and then the end users getting what they need to perform their job and really not having to sift through all the other crap. The third thing that I think is key, and really one of the things they tried to sell when they first came out with it, was the fact that it was the unified interface. And I've seen this come to fruition more recently as we've done demos, is that now it's the same in the web, it's the same in Outlook, and it's the same on the mobile device. You know, the native D365 app that they can download. And that is not the same to be said between classic UI and how some of those other functions used to work. That's kind of my big 3 of why we should, you know, start moving towards the UIF for our demos. I think a couple of other things, you know, that prepares for us is then needing to make sure we kind of understand how it works. So I'm going to throw in a quick tidbit for you and kind of a gotcha. So does anybody know how to create these icons over here? And it's not like a trick question, so don't expect to know you're wrong or anything like that. First, save your icon. You still have to upload it as a web resource, and go to the update icon. But here is the trick of the day, tip and trick of the day, all in one. I don't know if it'll let me change it on that one since it's a native entity. Not seeing the update. Let's see if it'll let us change this one since that's the custom entity icon. So the 2 things to know about adjusting that navigation menu icon. The first is there's now a second tab that you have to upload that web resource into. So there's web client. That's the traditional way we've always kind of done it. That's your standard administrative navigation. Now there's the unified interface. And as you can see, that is the default icon. It's also what shows up anytime we go and see a custom entity and we launch the UIF. Now, here's the tricky part. And what they don't tell you, and that I had to Google and you know, dig through some articles. Who can see something about this icon? Just describe its attributes to me.
Black icon.
It's a black icon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a black icon. What do we normally do? We normally do like white icons on a colored background. So what's hilarious about this is that UIF, and I think it's a bug, but I don't know how many people have reported it yet, is that it actually takes that black icon and it flips it and converts it to a white icon. So here is one of our other clients' interfaces, and you guys should recognize this one. Now, when you see theirs, there's a white icon, but that web resource and that icon is technically black. So, yeah, that one took a little while to figure out, like, why the heck? Yeah, because it was just a black icon and you couldn't see it, and you kind of just had to hover over it to figure out what the heck was going on.
Really hard to see then, yeah.
White or black?
What's that?
You know if it'll reverse any colors that aren't white or black?
Have not tried other colors, although I know we did have some that were showing up purple for a little while, and I don't remember what those icons were saved as, but we had weekly updates showing up purple on a black background, and I think those were uploaded as like a multicolored image in the web interface. Yeah, and then what's nice about that is it keeps it clean. It allows us to continue the personal touch of icons. I would suggest, that it doesn't take very long to do a quick Google search and send the icon you want to use over to Dave and say, hey, can you clean this up and put it on a transparent background and make a black and a white one for me? And then being able to put that into the customer's solution, it makes a world of a difference. Smitty, I don't know if you remember or not, but just the reaction of changing the colors, and I'll talk about that here in a second too. But, for this client in particular, making that white and putting their theme colors in play, that was like the coolest thing we did that whole week. And we also did like all of this cool stuff with status, reason, closing, and mapping it to the certain type of opportunity. But that wasn't as cool as us putting in a custom icon and coloring it, right? And that's because people that aren't technical, what's the first thing they get drawn to? They get drawn to, shapes and colors. It's just the way our brains as humans are wired. So I'm going to pause for that then and ask, others as it relates to the advantages that I gave on UIF for demo. Again, cleaner UI. It allows you to have personalized, call it navigation and entities for roles. And then the third is the fact that it's in web, Outlook, and mobile all the same. What other advantages can you guys think of by us starting to switch over and leverage the UIF as the primary UI for our clients moving forward?
I think maybe not as much on the demo side, but just in general, when we set things up for them, we don't have to be like, hey, we created you this whole thing, and then you say, okay, let's do mobile, and that's like a completely different thing, and it's always disheartening to them that they have to shell out more money for it.
Yeah, now when we build it and focused on the fact that it's got to work in the UIF, build it once and it works across those. So I think that's a good comment. And I didn't set a scribe.
Well, so, and I'm not really clear on the branding and marketing, but I keep hearing that Microsoft is branding everything now as Power Apps. And this is a Power App interface. And so it's their, going forward, this is what we're going to do. This is where all the improvements are going to be. This is where, they're investing their time and effort. And so by switching to it sooner rather than later, I think we help our customers get on that train, because right now Microsoft's really good about, or at least they tend to be at the beginning of the switch. If things are kind of broken, trying to look at it and figure out, and in a few months or a few years, they tend to be more of like, well, thousands of people have done it. You must be doing something wrong. So,
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a great comment. And, we, as we get into some of these entities, I mean, it's still there in the classic UI, but the ability to launch in or embed some of the Power Platform, run flow, things like that. The UI is closer to those other Power Platform interfaces.
So I would say that it's more touch friendly as far as operating it. And then also from a mobile device perspective, I don't know if you've noticed, but most updates to mobile interfaces are going to much more of a flat look for the icons and for everything on the mobile device. And this is kind of following suit with that. So it fits in the mobile operating system better as well.
Okay.
Those are all really
I think
nice.
that's great.
I look at it. Yeah, thanks. I look at it and I just think, oh, this is current. It looks better. This is where we need to be to show the fresh face of Microsoft to the world. So I look at it from that standpoint as having a big advantage. I don't think it has all the features yet, and so that's my concern on the downside.
Yep. I haven't gone through and tried to recreate the admin menu or the D365 custom menu in a My App yet, or a model-driven app. Sorry, that's what they call them now. And so I think those are some of the downsides, right? Is it doesn't have the entire functionality of the classic UI.
Yeah. Could you do the field services schedule board in it, for example?
Well, let's see.
We could. It's just a web resource, so see why not.
Yeah. Same as probably loading in that RBI dashboard.
I think the new Field Service Hub actually has some nicer visualizations, but I haven't played with it much.
Yeah.
Nor have I, but we'll go back. We'll go back to the customer service app. So the customer service hub. Now, any other thoughts? I guess Derek, you've had to work on some of the stuff. How has it been developing in UIF in terms of like getting the ribbon, other things like that to cooperate? Any different?
That's mostly the same. There are a few API call things that only work in Unified Interface, and then some that only work on the classic client. So that's just something to be aware of. I think Logan ran into that too. We were trying to do something that didn't work in Unified Interface.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask that dashboard.
There's a navigation like pop-up, and one of the pieces of it only works in the Unified Interface. So it was something that works in the Unified Interface but doesn't work in the typical.
Okay.
Yeah, they got some cool stuff though if you're doing it only Unified Interface, like when you paint a picture and stuff like that.
Cool. All right. And Smitty, you were going to ask about the dashboard?
Well, that appears to be a Power BI dashboard. Is that easier to embed in this interface than the standard interface?
Same process in terms of just adding the dashboard in, where you just create a new Power BI dashboard. Now that's personal. There is an article that kind of walks through how you would set this up so that you could create a system dashboard that just loads for everybody. So there is a way to do that. Okay. Any other questions on the unified interface? Nope. Excellent. Okay. This is JT Demo. This is available to all of us when we go to demo. There are a number of accounts. As you can see, we've got a bunch of cases loaded in here. We've got a bunch of opportunities loaded in there. We've got a lot of data, and we're going to continue to use like our interns to populate it. The other thing that's nice is this is tied to Business Central in this demo environment. And so if I pull up an account, and I can see, and this is where these different, I got to remember which one it is. So it looks like we'd have to add that in.
So I had
go ahead, Logan. Or not, sorry, Nevin.
Yeah, well, the other Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
Mr.
So,
Anderson.
I had a question on the UCI timeline piece. They're saying, hey, we really like the way that you could on the social pane here, click on activities and then leave a phone number, or sorry, leave a phone call with just, a few clicks. But to do that in here, this sucks. There's way too many fields that pop up. I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to do this in 3 clicks and 2 keystrokes. So they didn't like how busy this was. I was wondering if anybody knows if there's a move to bring back. So if you cancel out of this in the timeline, you can enter a note like you used to be able to enter a phone call.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, it kind of has the fly down.
Yeah, just super easy, lightweight.
Just a quick create form. You could probably customize it to show fewer fields if you wanted.
Yep. Yeah. It just takes a while to load. It's a pain.
1, 2, fill it out, 3 clicks, and then you're really at 2 clicks here.
Yep.
But it is a little bit more in line, but have no idea.
Yep. I couldn't find a way. I was looking. So okay.
All right. Let me jump back to this, and then I guess this will be a homework item that I'll go do. But as you can see, there is this view that's been dropped in here, this form view of the Business Central account statistics. And so on the account now, you're able to see the ERP data directly in there as it's tied with that system. That's an advantage as well of going in here. And so again, in any demo that we do, I'd strongly encourage we use the JT demo account. 1, because we have to actually pay for it, so we should get our use out of it. And 2 is that it's got a lot of features that some of these other trials that we have to spin up don't have. Okay.
So Eric, I had a question about the JT demo itself. Since this is a shared environment, are there any kind of suggestions, rules, restrictions on creating data? So I'm just thinking, let's say I was going to go and do a demo. Do I need to clean that up so that later if we go to their competitor or something, they're not seeing data in there? Or I guess I'm trying to figure out if there has been any discussions around that and if there are any rules that I need to be following.
Yeah, for the most part, we're trying to keep it in line with the theme of kind of the demo data and accounts. So I would say that the 2 rules are going to be that we use a solution for each customization, and then we probably should do a review after and decide if we keep it or yank it back out. And then the second part of that is, once we're done with a demo, if it is really specific to a company or an industry, we probably should go back in and delete it. And I think the easiest way for us to do that is to probably run a backup before we start it, and then go back and just do a restore. If we know that it's going to be a demo that we want to wipe.
That's only one person's using that demo at that current time.
Yeah, no, there's going to be some coordination, and there's going to be some that it's like, doesn't make sense if we're going to go in and build a bunch of custom entities, and they don't want to see all this other stuff. Yeah, let's go spin up either a trial or go and use one of our other instances that we know it could sit there for a little while. That's a great question, Scott, and one that we probably do need to think about how we approach it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just looking at using J2 demo for focus, and I thought, I don't know who else is using this. I won't add data. So
Oh, you're good. All right. So I just wanted to spend maybe 10 minutes and go through the customer service components. Really, there's a lot of good functionality within customer service. Some of it is transferable or relatable to other entities, and there's components of this that are applicable really in any time that somebody needs to keep track of a request, issue, problem, and they want to be able to time it or measure it and apply routing. So I know I just described a contact center, but it's also applicable for any other type of work scenario where they need to be able to perform those functions, right? We need to be able to, receive that inbound request. We need to be able to, route it. We need to be able to work it, time it, all of those things. Just want to kind of do a poll. How many of you guys have had to do a call center or work with like call center, contact center functionality?
I have, but reasonably obliquely. I'm surprised by how lightly most companies want to cover customer service.
It's usually viewed as a cost center, and they don't want to dump more cost into it.
Yeah.
So one of our challenges is to show how it can actually be used to either increase revenue or help decrease costs. Is one of the primary objectives of being able to say that they should focus on customer service.
Right.
What is nice about this demo environment, and once we do the demo next week in Denver, it will I'll be able to kind of turn it back to us, but we have a working 5.9 development environment where we can use their adapter and use it to do call pop. And so that's one of the things that we'll continue to leverage and use. But I told them I wouldn't mess with this while they're getting it ready for next Wednesday. But that is there. Again, what's nice, there is a customer service pack from Power BI that you can just load in here that gives a lot of the standard stats that a call center wants to use. I'm just going to run through real quick some of the newer features and items that that come into play for case management. I'm just looking kind of at their release list. They say that in June, this will be nice. Hopefully they make this available for everything and not just customer service. But in June, they're saying this will be part of the general availability. You can actually modify this form. You can finally modify a dialogue form. Yeah, I know, isn't that? I'll believe it when I see it. But that's feature one of what's coming. You'll finally be able to, as an administrator, modify the case resolution form. Yay! Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I think that's pretty cool. One of the other nice things about the new customer service is its knowledge article management and some of the analytics. So based on the case title, that's how knowledge is initially identified and searched. And then you're able to publish those, do a whole knowledge management process. And I don't know how many of you guys have gone through that, but in like a traditional call center, trying to get KBs published and all that is
hassle-rific.
Yeah, it's hassle-rific, and they've really simplified the whole, create, publish, approve process for KBs in Dynamics. And I think the best feature they have now is that the search actually works. And you can come in and link these articles to the case. So if I were to link it, it's now linked, it's going to be in use. I can come up here, I can link this one as well, and I can show that essentially these two KBs were part of the assistance or resolution of the case.
Yeah, the search is now like full text and handled outside of CRM by an Azure process, right?
Yeah, Azure. Yep. So part of what they're moving over to Azure is not only just the knowledge search, but they are looking to start using that to figure out how it can also suggest the similar cases. So you can see here, these are other cases that had to do with issue, damage, or bike frame, things like that. So
After you've linked like KB, what's the best way to like go and see it? Would you go back to the search again? Or?
So once you've done that, I believe it's here in the case relationships that it'll show you. Let me see if that refreshes yet. Should have how to change. Oh, I clicked 3. There were 3, right? Bike repair checklist. Bank set. Okay. Yeah. So there are those associated knowledge records, and then as you click into those, you can actually identify like, hey, I want to make sure that, like, if I go, sorry, I got to go back here. Which is the one thing I will say in the web version of the interface, the UIF, it is hard to, like in the mobile, it's nice because there's just a back button, but there's not really a back button on the web version other than just the browser. So that's the one thing I've found that's kind of different or a little bit annoying between the Outlook add-in and the mobile app is that on those, they have a nice little back button that's part of the menu navigation, but on the web, you have to actually use your browser, which might be okay. Most people know that probably. That's probably how most people will use it. I think for those of us that have to live in here all the time, we're going to go, well, where's the back button? Here we go. So let me look into, not that one. Let me go look into this other one. So here's the one, bike repair checklist. So I want to open this one, check it out, and we can start to see views. So these are some of the stats. This is also part of what they're calling knowledge management analytics. So as you go into the KB portion, and you'd have to build an app that is like a knowledge manager's. But here, this email is going to be where it marks that to identify that you sent it to the customer or not. So here you go, who sent it to the Canon group. Here's the article, and as you can see now, you've got this in here. Smitty, how do you change this default font?
I don't know. It may be the same as the other. You change the default font in your browser.
That is exactly correct. Smitty had to find this out the other day. How many of you guys knew that?
I didn't even know the
right
browser
here.
had a default font.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah, guys, guess what?
Standard
I come
font.
here, standard font. I can come down, say this is the font I want. I save it. I come back wherever I was at, do a refresh. Look at that. Boom! It's not even a dynamic setting. You have to tell these people they got to manage their browser settings. What are they doing? No, we found that out. Smitty, kudos to you on that one. I've been dealing with ugly times New Roman for years, thinking the dynamics was stupid. Oh man, that is right. You know what, Dave? This is a marker for the audio. That's a tidbit right there. Get that to the top of the search page. No, so you can force that. Basically, this will come in. All right, that's a Concoso. I don't care. Save and close. Boom. Knowledge article sent. I'm able to come back, check out my articles that are in use. Now I've got that related. And then if I come over here, it should, there's our email. You can see, oh, wow, look at that, just beautiful font. Was sent out, come over here. Got my bike frame issues. Still don't know why that's not showing up, but that's okay. I'll figure that piece out later. And then that should be updating to yes, wherever this one right here, whichever one we used. So there may be a little bit of a process behind there for some of the knowledge management, some of the new AI. It is in preview. I'll give them that benefit of the doubt. And they said March or April, so I don't know about that. One of the newer public previews is that, and I didn't do anything on this, but this may be of interest for you guys. One of the things that we need to start looking in is they have a function called the CIF, or the Channel Integration Framework. That is part of the Unified Service Desk, or USD. And so, Derek, one of the things we ran into, if you remember, for our Skype app, was that Chrome wouldn't allow audio controls, right?
Yep.
Now we can use a Chrome process to host web applications in the USD. And that may be something that we want to check out and see if that allows us to get around some of those prior restrictions that we had.
Cool.
Yeah. And they're going to allow single sign-on for USD, so that would work with other single sign-on carriers as well. And some of the other availabilities they're looking at kind of in second half is they really are trying to figure out what they're going to do with that channel integration framework. But some of those things that they're looking for are going to be the ability for somebody to have like a supervisor experience. So essentially to drop in and see someone working a case, or watch, listen in, watch in, see them working the case. So not necessarily you having to go and open the record and look at it, but have that monitorability. They call it unified routing and work distribution, but I have no idea. They didn't really have a whole lot on that one. Makes it sound like you'd have kind of a unified queue that you could apply logic to on how it handles all of the different channels that would be coming in. And then they're going to look at live chat and portal messaging. So a live chat channel and being able to use Portal as a messaging platform. So those are pretty cool things that will allow for other case types to be created. How many of you guys, Smitty, and I know you have, but how many of you guys have worked with either entitlements or SLAs? Those are some of the other functions within Dynamics or customer service that are pretty cool once you get to learn how they function. Entitlements? Nevin, what have you done?
SLAs, and I fooled around with entitlements, but we didn't end up using them. But SLAs are good.
Yeah. What did you use SLAs for?
We had just, for those that don't know what they are, it's just pretty much a countdown timer to show you how much time you have left to respond to a case, and typically it's used to let your agents know that when they start to run short on time to either get on site or reply or solve an issue. So that's what I used them for.
Entitlements, then I'll come back to some of the SLAs too, because what's cool about SLAs, you can use them on other entities now also, and you've been able to do that for about a version or so. But entitlements are where you're able to put in how far somebody can go with support, meaning, are we going to give this company 100 hours worth of support? So now think in the context of always asking us for things. We already auto capture and create cases based on incoming email. Now we could do it so that we say, all right, as part of your managed service agreement, we are going to give you 100 hours of support. In every case, we'd be able to start a timer. It associates to the SLA, but it would also update the entitlement so that if we hit, 100 hours, it's going to flag that account and say, you're out of support hours. And so you can set that up to say, all right, number of hours based on, these total terms, 100 hours, and then that remaining terms will get updated every time that time is captured on those things. And you could come in and say, here's the SLA that we want to create. But it's pretty cool. A lot of larger organizations that have those type of SLA agreements or support agreements in place would use an entitlement.
So the entitlement.
Go ahead, Scott.
Is this tied into PSA or something like that, or is it just basically I start it on a Friday afternoon and by the time I come back to Monday, they've used up 72 hours of their stuff?
We could probably configure it and customize it a little bit to kick off an entitlement.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was some, if they had accounted for that in the entitlements out of the box.
Well, they're meant for cases right now, but I'm wondering if they could be put on other entities in the future.
Okay, so it would be probably less hours than it would be, you get 100 cases or something like that, something that would be a discrete count. Is that the way it's used?
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, you can open 100 tickets with us, right? Or we'll close 100 tickets for you. So for every ticket we close, we're going to count that towards you. But yeah, those right now are the two allocation types.
Okay.
Yep. And then, as we mentioned, SLAs, those can be set up on a number of different things. You create a new SLA, and then this is where, when you go in and do your customizations, you'd have to go to an entity. I don't know what we'd put it on, but anybody got a quick idea off the top of their head? Project task. And then you have to come in here and enable it for SLA. And then once that's done, I got to go back, refresh the other page, but then you can have timers, things like that on the project task entity. You can set it up. You can have warning notifications or warning conditions. So if it's 2 days before the due date, that's a warning, right? It goes into a warning state. If, it's the day of a due date, it's another warning. If it's the day after the due date, it's now failed, right? So that's a potential application of an SLA for project tasks or other entities as well. And yeah, go ahead.
They can tie into the business process flow too, right?
Yes. Yep.
So as you're hitting like a new stage, it starts to count.
Yes.